Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we got another session of Bhagavatam Bites, Canto 2, Chapter 3, Text 16. Chapter is Pure Devotional Service, the Change in Heart. So if we just say the invocation.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Text 16. Sukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, was also full in transcendental knowledge and was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, son of Vasudeva. So there must have been discussion of Lord Krishna, who is glorified by great philosophers and in the company of great devotees. Purport. The word satam is very important in this verse. Satam means the pure devotees who have no other desire than to serve the Lord. Only in the association of such devotees are the transcendental glories of Lord Krishna properly discussed. It is said by the Lord that his topics are all full of spiritual significance, and once one properly hears about him in the association of the satam, certainly one senses the great potency and so automatically attains to the devotional stage of life. As already described, Maharaj Parikshit was a great devotee of the Lord from his very birth, and so was Sukadeva Goswami. Both of them were on the same level. Interesting. Although it appeared that Maharaj Parikshit was a great king, accustomed to royal facilities, whereas Sukadeva Goswami was a typical renouncer of the world. So much so that he did not even put a cloth on his body. Superficially, Maharaj Parikshit and Sukadeva Goswami might seem to be opposites, but basically they were both unalloyed pure devotees of the Lord. When such devotees are assembled together, there can be no topics save discussions of the glories of the Lord or Bhakti Yoga. In the Bhagavad Gita also, when there were talks between the Lord and his devotee Arjuna, there could not be any topic other than Bhakti Yoga. However, the mundane scholars may speculate on it in their own ways. The use of the word cha after Vyasaki suggests, according to Srila Jiva Goswami, that both Sukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit were of the same category, settled long before, although one was playing the part of the master and the other the disciple. Since Lord Krishna is the centre of the topics, the word Vasudeva Parayana, or devotee of Vasudeva, suggests devotee of Lord Krishna, the common aim. Although there were many others who assembled at the place where Maharaj Parikshit was fasting, the natural conclusion is that there was no topic other than the glorification of Lord Krishna, because the principal speaker was Sukadeva Goswami and the chief audience was Maharaj Parikshit. So Srimad Bhagavatam, as it was spoken and heard by two principal devotees of the Lord, is only for the glorification of the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna.
Amazing. Nice point that it's mentioned that, you mentioned it, that Maharaj Parikshit and Sukadeva Goswami were basically on the same level, just playing different roles.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that. It's not implied, you would, because it's implied, okay, he's the king, not that he's not thought of as a great personality, but somehow Sukadeva Goswami is always depicted or seen as this sage came amongst the sages, because he walked amongst the sages and he was picked and he was the youngest person there and everything. So that's interesting that they're both considered on the same level. That's quite far out.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like the meeting between Vidura and Maitreya. It's actually described that Vidura, who was the one who was inquiring the most, it's said that actually he was more advanced because he had such devotion for Krishna, whereas Maitreya was a Muni, but who had also had the opportunity to overhear the conversation between Krishna and Uddhav. So he had become influenced by that and then was able to convey that conversation. But actually it's described that Vidura was actually a much more advanced devotee, but he was taking the humble position and making the inquiries and just to hear the nectar. So Maharaj Parikshit was protected by Krishna in the womb. So he had darshan of Krishna in the womb.
Yeah.
So that's why his name is Parikshit, means the examiner, one who is looking. So he's always searching for Krishna throughout his whole life. From the time he came out of the womb, he's always been looking for Krishna. So that's advanced, you know.
Yeah.
So he may have the I guess domestic duty of being a king, and Shukadev Goswami is a naked renunciant, but Shukadev Goswami was a Brahmavadi before he became, before hearing the Bhagavatam. So from his birth he was already a liberated soul, but he wasn't a devotee. He wasn't a bhakta. Whereas Parikshit Maharaj was a bhakta from birth.
So Sukadeva Goswami's father was Vyasadeva, and he wasn't a bhakta.
Yeah, he was a Brahmavadi.
Parikshit Maharaj comes from a line of Kshatriyas.
Well, his forefathers are the Pandavas.
Yeah.
Were like the greatest of devotees.
Yeah. I forgot anyway.
Forgot what?
I was going to say something. Forgot. But anyway.
Yeah, you said he came from a line of Kshatriyas.
Yeah, and the point is that it's not about, one sense, lineage, because you could have devotees that are parents, and I mean, just saying, then the behaviour of the kids may not be reflecting that, and then you could have someone who doesn't come from a Vaishnava family or that, but the actions speak louder than the words. So in this case, Parikshit Maharaj, he got cursed to die. So what did he do? Immediately renounce the kingdom, his family, this and that. He's fasting, which we just got reminded, because you can forget that. He's actually fasting for these 7 days. Plus, that's what he did at the end of his life. So if you did like a poll with people, say you got 7 days to live, what you're going to do? It'd be quite scary what some people would say, and what they'd do. So his actions speak much louder.
Yeah.
Things were definitely
nice. Text 17. Oh, this is a famous verse. Wonderful. Both by rising and by setting, the sun decreases the duration of life of everyone, except one who utilizes the time by discussing topics of the all-good personality of Godhead. So just like we're doing now, life is not diminishing. We're actually in suspended animation, because we're functioning by hearing about Krishna. We're functioning on the spiritual platform, which is the eternal platform. So how can time be passing on the eternal platform? Just like in the spiritual world, it's described that time is conspicuous by its absence. So when we hear topics of Krishna, then we're functioning on the spiritual platform, because we're nourishing the soul. We're functioning on the platform of the soul, and that's eternal. So the rising and setting of the sun makes no difference. Doesn't matter. Even if it may appear that the body is deteriorating, but one is absorbed, their consciousness is absorbed in the eternal.
This was the class that we just read in the ladies' mentee meeting. Not read, heard by Prabhupada. We discussed, wasn't it, the time, don't defeat this rising. Don't let the sun defeat your life. And the answer was to hear Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada said.
Nice. Yeah, perfect. This verse indirectly confirms the greater importance of utilizing the human form of life to realize our lost relationship with the Supreme Lord by acceleration of devotional service. Time and tide wait for no man. So the time indicated by the sunrise and the sunset will be uselessly wasted if such time is not properly utilized for realizing identification of spiritual values. Even a fraction of the duration of life wasted cannot be compensated by any amount of gold. Human life is simply awarded to a living entity, jiva, so that he can realize his spiritual identity and his permanent source of happiness. A living being, especially the human being, is seeking happiness because happiness is the natural situation of the living entity. But he is vainly seeking happiness in the material atmosphere. A living being is constitutionally a spiritual spark of the complete whole, and his happiness can be perfectly perceived in spiritual activities. The Lord is the complete spirit whole, and His name, form, quality, pastimes, entourage, and personality are all identical with Him. Once a person comes into contact with any one of the above-mentioned energies of the Lord through the proper channel of devotional service, the door to perfection is immediately opened. In the Bhagavad Gita 2:40, the Lord has explained such contact in the following words. Endeavors in devotional service are never baffled, nor is there failure. A slight beginning of such activities is sufficient even to deliver a person from the great ocean of fears. It's amazing how that verse, Prabhupada has completely paraphrased that verse differently than the way that is translated in the Bhagavad Gita, because that's the Neha Bhikramadashosi Pratyavayo Navidyate, that there's no loss or diminution on this path, and a little advancement can save one from the most dangerous type of fear. But the way Prabhupada has written it here is like, it's the same meaning, but the words are different, and it's so poetic. It makes me wonder, if Prabhupada were to come and do Bhakti Shastri and we were to grade his shloka recitation, and if he would pass, we would be like, well, that's not exactly the same. As a highly potent drug injected intravenously acts at once on the whole body, the transcendental topics of the Lord injected through the ear by the pure devotee of the Lord can act very efficiently. Oral realization of the transcendental messages implies total realization, just as fructification of one part of a tree implies fructification of all other parts. This realization, for a moment in the association of pure devotees like Shukadeva Goswami, prepares one's complete life for eternity. And thus, the sun fails to rob the pure devotee of his duration of life, inasmuch as he is constantly busy in the devotional service of the Lord, purifying his existence. Death is a symptom of the material infection of the eternal living being. Only due to material infection is the eternal living entity subjected to the law of birth, death, old age, and disease.
The materialistic way of pious activities like charity is recommended in the Smriti Sastras, as quoted by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Money given in charity to a suitable person is guaranteed bank balance in the next life. Such charity is recommended to be given to a Brahmana. If the money is given in charity to a non-Brahmana without Brahminical qualifications, the money is returned in the next life in the same proportion. If it is given in charity to a half-educated Brahmana, even then the money is returned double. If the money is given in charity to a learned and fully qualified Brahmana, the money is returned 100 and 1,000 times. And if the money is given to a Veda Paraga, one who has factually realized the path of the Vedas, it is returned by unlimited multiplication. That's interesting.
No, it's great. Yeah,
people that become millionaires and this and, from nothing. Where did that come from? Interesting. The ultimate end of Vedic knowledge is realization of the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Vedas cha sarva aham eva vedya. There is a guarantee of monies being returned if given in charity, regardless of the proportion. Similarly, a moment passed in association with a pure devotee by hearing and chanting the transcendental messages of the Lord is a perfect guarantee for eternal life, for returning back home, back to Godhead. Madhama gatva puna janma na vidyate. In other words, a devotee of the Lord is guaranteed eternal life. A devotee's old age or disease in the present life is but an impetus to such guaranteed eternal life.
Yeah. Old age and disease for a devotee are simply an impetus for eternal life. So devotees just don't see old age and disease in the same way. They think, yeah, old age, great, no problem. Just getting closer to an eternal life. Incredible. Do we read one more?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, text number 18. Do the trees not live? Do the bellows of the blacksmith not breathe? All around us, do the beasts not eat and discharge semen? Purport. The materialistic man of the modern age will argue that life, or part of it, is never meant for discussion of theosophical or theological arguments. Life is meant for the maximum duration of existence for eating, drinking, sexual intercourse, making merry, and enjoying life. The modern man wants to live forever by the advancement of material science, and there are many foolish theories for prolonging life to the maximum duration. But the Srimad Bhagavatam affirms that life is not meant for so-called economic development or advancement of materialistic science, for the hedonistic philosophy of eating, mating, drinking, and merrymaking. Life is solely meant for tapasya, for purifying existence, so that one may enter into the eternal life just after the end of the human form of life.
The materialists want to prolong life as much as possible because they have no information of the next life. They want to get the maximum comforts in this present life because they think conclusively that there is no life after death. This ignorance about the eternity of the living being and the change of covering in the material world has played havoc in the structure of modern human society. Consequently, there are many problems multiplied by various plans of modernized man. The plans for solving the problems of society have only aggravated the troubles. Even if it is possible to prolong life more than 100 years, advancement of human civilization does not necessarily follow. The Bhagavatam says that certain trees live for hundreds and thousands of years. At Vrindavan there is a tamarind tree, the place is known as Imlitala, which is said to have existed since the time of Lord Krishna. In the
5,000 years old tree.
In the Calcutta Botanical Garden there is a banyan tree said to be older than 500 years, and there are many such trees all over the world. Swami Sankaracharya lived only 32 years and Lord Chaitanya lived 48 years. Does it mean that the prolonged lives of the above mentioned trees are more important than the life of Shankara or Chaitanya? Prolonged life without spiritual value is not very important. One may doubt that trees have life because they do not breathe, but modern scientists like Bose have already proved that there is life in plants, so breathing is no sign of actual life. The Bhagavatam says that the bellows of the blacksmith breathes very loudly, but that does not mean that the bellows has life. The materialistic will argue that life in the tree and life in the man cannot be compared because the tree cannot enjoy life by eating palatable dishes or by enjoying sexual intercourse. In reply to this, the Bhagavatam asks whether other animals, like the dogs and hogs living in the same village of human beings, do not eat and enjoy sexual life. The specific utterance of Srimad Bhagavatam in regard to other animals means that persons who are simply engaged in planning a better type of animal life consisting of eating, breathing and mating are also animals in the shape of human beings. A society of such polished animals cannot benefit suffering humanity, for an animal can easily harm another animal but really do good.
Well, Bhagavatam just puts it the way that it is, and that's the way that it is, you know. We have to think about it, because if we're not living life for a higher purpose, then what is the difference between our lives and the lives of animals or the lives of trees? We're just existing, breathing, trying to have some sex life and trying to eat some palatable dishes. Which, by the way, I can smell our dinner cooking, so I think we know how to go now. So thank you all very much, and tune in again next time as we continue to read the Srimad Bhagavatam. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. And don't forget, we got this beautiful Bhagavatam here with a picture of Radhalandanishwar on the front. 2-1, this is what we're reading at the moment, and if you want any copies, let us know. And if we haven't come back to you when we said we were going to, we're sorry about that, but she's going to sort that out really soon.
Hi. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you. Bye bye.